Hello, everyone. Welcome if it's your first time. Welcome back if you're returning. My name is Miranda. Thought I'd pull some cards today. This will start out with tarot. Not really sure where I'm going with this. I'm just gonna see what happens. I have the Eight of Pentacles, but it was reversed. It wasn't right up and down. So something someone decided not to work on. And we have Empress. Not putting effort towards something comes across as a show of strength. Maybe somebody expected you to put forth some sort of energy and you held back. You maintained your composure and established yourself as an empress. Pulling some tarot. Seven of Cups. Options. Options. Maybe your behavior through the last interaction has granted you options. We got Ten of Wands. The weight of a choice is weighing on someone. Someone had a choice to make, and they struggled. They struggled making the choice. Maybe a lose-lose situation, or where somebody had to lose. We have the Hermit. Somebody's reflecting on their behavior, their actions, their feelings. What information did they use to make this decision? Somebody's like testing their own heart right now. Somebody is discovering their own motivations. Whatever they convinced themselves was their priority, they're finding out. They've seen that it's not. They're now questioning what their real priority is. And discovering themselves. Somebody's on a self-awareness journey. The catalyst was a really difficult decision. The catalyst was predicting somebody else's behavior. So somebody expected someone else to behave in a way that was familiar and they didn't, and it has caused some self-reflection. Oh, this person is not used to being wrong. I think somebody's a very good reader of character. They can truly predict people's behaviors. They watch people and what motivates them, and they think that they are an expert. They expected this to play out, whatever the situation is. They expected it to play out a certain way, and it didn't. And it's thrown them in a tailspin. They're questioning themselves because they have largely built themselves on the knowledge that they could see into people a bit, that they can predict behavior. They felt like they had the playbook and they were the only one with the playbook, and now they're realizing that they can be wrong. And they were wrong in a big way. This is a heavy decision. This is some significant consequences for a misstep in this situation. This mattered. Whatever this mattered. This was significant. I want to say that there's some sort of spiritual connection through this. This was a lesson learned, a spiritual lesson being learned. There was influence by spirit to have someone learn this lesson, to create this situation so that they could learn it. We got Knight of Swords on the bottom. They may have also moved too quickly. Somebody jumped to the wrong conclusion. Again, this speaks to someone being almost arrogant in what they thought they knew. Somebody moved Based on their own limited information. They were absolutely convinced they were right, though. They didn't doubt it for a second. And the fact that this didn't turn out the way that they expected has really shaken their foundation. Oh, I lost. I'm gonna pick those up. Lost some cards there. We'll put them back in. Put an oracle now. Oh, I've got some turned around. Okay. What oracle cards do you have for me? That's Seven of Cups. What more can you tell me about the Seven of Cups? Masculine energy. Okay, so the masculine energy, along with the Seven of Cups, makes me think that somebody was cultivating an image like they had lots of options, and it truly was an image. It's because of they liked being perceived that way, because of the masculinity tied to it, because they felt it made them more masculine or a certain kind of masculine to have several different options. They thought that it spoke to their virility, not just attractiveness, but also leadership. Oh, I think the choices, the options, I think it was fabricated. It was designed that way. It was intentional. So possibly somebody put a person into a situation where they were one of several options, and they did that for what it did for their image. They didn't consider how one of the options would react. They were really very sure of themselves. They were very sure of that they knew how this would play out and that those options would stay there until they were ready to choose them. And I don't believe it turned out that way. For our Ten of Wands, we have Healer. Oh, so I view that Ten of Wands as the burden of this decision, or that they couldn't quite choose between the options. It was they felt responsible, and maybe there were high stakes tied to the option, meaning whichever path that they took would have significant consequences in their material world. So they were burdened by making the choice. They absolutely delayed. They absolutely delayed making the decision because of the weight of it. That being said, I think they now know they're past the decision point. They've made whatever decision they're going to make, but they would now realize who one of the options was. I have the healer card here. They should have chosen based on what they needed spiritually. They needed some spiritual healing. They were deficient in some way. Um, there was a healthy choice. I will say it that way. There was a healthy choice, and they didn't take that. They didn't pick the healthy choice. And now they realize that there is emotion tied to that choice that they didn't pick. It has taken a great deal of self reflection, though. They could not identify it because they are unfamiliar. This is not a person who is adept in love relationships. They avoid it. They do not, they don't feed, they don't cultivate, they don't protect emotions, not in themselves and not in other people. They've learned, and they're learning. I said they've learned something, but they are still in the middle of this lesson. They are learning um, the importance of emotion and why we respect emotions. in ourselves and in other people. They're learning how significant emotions are. This is a person who disregarded emotions in the past. They are quick to write off someone else's feelings. It makes them appear cruel in some cases. They're having that realization as well with that Herbert. They're seeing themselves not just through this latest situation, but through past situations. They are now seeing their behavior for what it was. They thought that they were smart. They thought that they were controlled. They thought that they were intensely masculine and in charge. And they realize now that their disregard for feelings is a weakness, and that they've misread situations because they didn't use all the information given to them, which was feelings. Feelings are additional information. It will give you a perspective that you won't have without that information. And they've overlooked things because of it. That's hitting them hard. I'm getting a real sadness there, a real sadness about missed opportunities. This is not necessarily a person. In fact, I don't think it is a person. It's honestly material. I think that this person is hyper focused on material gain, and they realize what they've walked away from because they didn't acknowledge respect feeling. With this page of swords, we have feminine energy. Wow. Wow. Masculine energy on one end, feminine energy on the other, bookends. So again, this was a spiritual lesson. This was orchestrated by somebody's spirit team, or a couple of spirit teams got together to teach some lessons here, with the balance of energy, feminine energy. This is a person stepping into their feminine energy. They have, oh, that's why. So they focus. They have singularly focused on growing their masculine energy. They want it to be perceived a certain way. They had a vision in their head of how they wanted to present themselves to the world. They disregarded the benefit and the value in feminine energy, and they are just now getting a taste of what it feels like to have balance internally. This is a person who was hyper masculine and had a repressed or suppressed feminine or distorted feminine energy in them. Um, because I said that this may be somebody who wanted something for nothing. Feminine energy is receptive. If it's distorted, if it's somehow unhealthy, it can come off as greediness. Um, again, expecting something for nothing, laziness, entitlement. But they are learning now to embrace their feminine energy. They are growing into this new balanced state. Hmm. What's the outcome? What happens after reaching the balance? They're on this journey. What's next in this situation? I don't believe that this is you, collective, but this is somebody who may have overlooked you and showed them something different. Um, Still relevant to you though. You were meant to teach them this lesson, and likely they have taught you lessons as well. And you may be also learning something from the rest of the story. I can't seem to get one card. Get a singular card. Awakening. So what's next for them? An awakening. And learning the lesson. Gamble. It is really difficult for this person to choose something other than what's familiar. Fear of change may also have contributed to that choice that they made initially. Picking the different thing is not on this person's agenda. It's not what they would want for themselves. They like to, again, predict what's going to happen. They think they know, and they would not have chosen the non traditional option, the misunderstood option. They wouldn't have chosen that. We have anger management. Why anger? I think they are fighting their emotion. They're fighting the emerging emotion. They are fighting this love that they feel now. And there are people in their life who don't want them to evolve and change in this way. There are people who benefit from them, from their past behavior, who benefit from this person operating um, emotionless. Because they don't share emotion, they share money. This is a person who pays the people in their life to tolerate their cruelty. There are people who are accustomed to that, don't want to give up the resources that they're obtaining from this person, and therefore don't want them to become more emotionally aware. They don't want them to evolve into a person who is not money motivated. But gold diggers, basically, they're people who are taken care of by this person, and they don't want. Darn, I heard it clear in my head. I have to say they don't want integrity to be part of this person's makeup because they benefit from the lack. Laughter. Oh, tapping into emotions, balancing feminine energy with masculine energy allows lighter heartedness, allows more daily joy, pleasure in life. The energy shifts with the introduction of that feminine energy shifts and speaks to comfort. Um, this person is going to find that they are more comfortable in themselves as they embrace their feminine energy. Hmm. This may be a person who appears to be very stoic or stern, and they'll find they can relax a bit as they soften. They appreciate the change in their mood, the change in the way that people treat them. Again, there's a lightheartedness that I feel as far as the outcome. So this person is continuing to evolve. I don't think that this happens quickly just because of the monumental changes that I see happening. I don't think that this happens quickly, but I could be wrong there. Um, they are continually to evolve. They are on a path that they started with you as the catalyst. You put them on a path of discovery, of self awareness. You're being spiritually obedient. So kudos to you for initiating this, for bringing this out. And just know that they are continuing on it, even if you are now in separation with this person. They are continuing on their soul's journey, and it looks to end with laughter, with happiness, with a degree of peace that they did not have um, prior to encountering you. All right, collective, this is a bit of an odd one, but I think I will leave it there. I hope that you find this helpful. If it resonates, please like the video, follow or subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.